So what I have in my hand is the metering tube we're talking about. So with the metering tube, what you're going to see is you're going to see 3 times larger inside diameter than the orifice, than the corresponding orifice. In my system this year, we ran all High Brix products. I ran liquid fish, liquid humic, a compost extract blend that we got the dried ingredients from Greg. Dad and I took an old dairy tank, ripped the lid off, blended it in there. Was not pretty. I don't have pictures. I don't want to show what it was because it was pretty archaic, but it worked. We also had micronized rock phos that I ran through the quick draw chem handler, and I metered it all through my automated handler. And I plugged in 1,200 acres. I plugged my pre-pump filter twice. I didn't wash it. I went out there, opened it up, closed the valve, hit the filter on the frame, put it back in, and went to work. And I mean, so then the micronized rock phos, I think that's what was actually truly settling in my tank after a while. We didn't agitate it the one day because we got rained out when we were seeding canola, but I plugged that filter once. I knew exactly when I plugged that filter because on our pump we have an EMAG flow meter. So the second you have no flow, it will alarm at you. It's going to ring in your ear. It can display off an ISO display or Commander 2, which is a smaller controller. But that pump, flow meter, and metering tube, like Greg says, is 100% what sets us apart. So a lot of you guys are probably running a centrifugal pump on your liquid kits in here. We use a diaphragm pump, and that pump can be mounted anywhere. So on my 1870, it's a tow behind air tank, tow behind liquid caddy. My pump is actually mounted on the front of my hitch. So I have 12 feet of hydraulic line, not 100 feet to the back of that tank to push the product. So the amount of suction that pump can give you is incredible. I just set up a drill with a 90-foot Seedmaster with an 850 and a 10,000 gallon liquid caddy at the back, and I put the pump on the front of the toolbar. So that's just to show how strong that pump is. So there's a lot of benefits with that pump. So it's PWM, so if we want to be on rate, say I ran, I'd say 95% of my acres at 18 gallons an acre of my blend. At the end of the day, I had a little 2-acre paddock to feed out. I pushed the 485, the PR30 pump, absolutely handle it. And to be honest, it actually only ran a little 1 metering tube. So I didn't even use the full capabilities of the metering tube. When you're on a dual metering tube kit, you'll have 6 times the amount of range as the 2 orifices. And in fact, I would say with more water-based product, we're going to have even more than that. I'd say close to that 8 to 9 times the amount of range with dual metering tube kit versus orifice. And again, the only plugin I had was pre-pump, and that was a 20 mesh filter. So I mean, there was a lot of junk in there, but I didn't even wash it out and knocked it on the frame. I put it back in, and away it went. The Surepoint product it's not new. They've been in the States since 2007, and a lot of their call to action is from helping farmers get product into the ground. So down in the States, we're seeing 90% liquid fertilizer use. Up in Canada, it's the exact opposite. We're 90% dry, and I wouldn't even say we're even 10% liquid. But the Surepoint kit is going to be the only one that's going to be able to handle the products that we're talking about here today. They're just that is it with low issues. So
sales pitch for you would maybe, but I didn't have to try it out yet. But a guy I talked to, I think Cameron or something from down south, he said not that I'm recommending, but you can pump mud through them.
Yeah. Yes.
It happened the first time. It worked.
Yeah. No, we have an organic farmer down in Montana that actually runs blood meal from the kill plants, and blood after a little bit of heat starts to coagulate. It gets pretty nasty, and he's running it through a metering tube and our PWM pump. Like it can handle. When Dad and I were setting up our extract tank, I'm like, there's no way. Like this can be an absolute nightmare. And honest goodness, it just wouldn't. So, and I've never ran liquid before in my life until this year, and then I decided I was gonna go off the spectrum with all Greg's products, and it worked. And like, to even talk about, we were talking about phos earlier. So just kind of, to me it's like a feather in my hat for like the yield we had. So I grew 40-10 forage peas, so especially pea. They grow 7 feet tall and they lay on the ground. We averaged 40 bushel an acre with all of Greg's products, no commercial phos whatsoever. So I'm here as a testament that Greg's products, they 100% absolutely works. And we were able to reduce our fertilizer costs. We pulled out all the commercial costs across the farm on our canola, our cereals, all of it. We averaged 250 pounds of traditional blend with our canola, with no phos, no potash, and averaged 52 on about 4.5, maybe 5 inches of rain. So Greg's products, they changed the ROI on the farm in a massive, dramatic way this year. So.
I didn't pay him for this, I didn't know anything.
Yeah, each
Guys asked me to talk about products, I said, we don't talk about products, this is education, but thank you.
Yeah, no problem, there you go. Surepoint Ag is the company. I do have some brochures back here, some business cards. Dealer network, so again, I'm not talking about selling. Greg doesn't actually sell the Surepoint product line because he's got way too much on his plate already. So I do have, depends on where you are, I do have dealers set up. We're kind of in a central area, so Horizon Ag and Turf is a dealer of ours. Mark Stolka, Central Precision Seeding. Jason Klein's getting on board as well in Panoka. So we do have a network, it is growing, so it all depends, but a lot of our early development dealers are within the John Deere world.
What's your range for volume for the tubes? We got the green tube roster in our middle, and now that we're going to be going like 20 gallons less rate,
18.
So we're just wondering how that's going to work with these tubes.
So the biggest, so I'm not worried about the tube as much. The biggest issue is like when a lot of you guys were talking, like you and I were talking, we talked like 20 times in February and March about the tubes. The biggest issue is if I just sell you this tube, my problem is I have no control, right? I don't know what check valve you have in your manifolds. I don't know what your pump's at. I don't know what your pressure's at. I have no tools to really help. What I found with a lot of the other manifolds is they're running either a 15 up to 18 pound check valve, where the Surepoint manifold that we run is one has a 4 pound check valve. So the other thing I didn't mention is the metering tube lets us run a lot lower pressure. So I guess before, like we were talking, like you don't want too much pressure, it could be hard on the biologicals. We're running a lot lower range of pressure based off our PWM product. I have a flow calculator and we can talk about it, Keith, to see where you need to be if you do need to switch your metering tube. But it might not be as much as the metering tube, but it's a check valve that's in your manifold that could be the issue. Same thing, I sold metering tube to guys out in the Humboldt area. They went with the purple metering tube. They're actually going to downsize to the gray metering tube to increase the pressure so that the product actually gets out.
So we had some problems with that. We had Addison manifolds, and we're getting, like, we couldn't even see pressure barely on our pressure gauge.
Yeah.
And I don't think all the sections are opening up quite properly.
Yes.
So that's
So like, because the metering tube's going to reduce that, right? Because we're talking a tiny little pinhole versus that, right? And this is the metering tube's an 8-foot length is what it comes in. But that's where there's like, when I sell the kit to you, I'm like, you go with my manifolds and at least have some control, at least I know what's going on. Those you might be able to call Wilger and switch out the check valve within the valve body. So it is like only a 4 pound check versus that 15 or whatever is in there. Every company's going to get different specs on the manifolds, whether it be the John Scott kit, the Patterson kit, Precision Planting, doesn't matter. Everybody's going to have different specs. So a lot of guys in here called just looking for metering tube. Well, I need to know more than just, hey, just send me this much metering tube, right? So that's where it was. It was my first year. I'd never ran liquid before, so I didn't know. I'll be honest, I didn't know exactly what I was doing. It was year one with this stuff. Just being honest, but. We're running a lot lower flow with the metering tube on that pump. So Well, we can talk after. Figure out your rates there, so.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.